What the hell are you doing? That's horrible! Stop it, you creep!
No. Before I get into this video, I just wanted to thank you for the support that the last video gained. Even if it's not considered to be a lot, it means a lot to me as a small YouTube channel, and it's enough to encourage me to want to continue on with this series. Also, I wanted to reiterate my points from the last video, just to make my intentions very clear. 1. I am changing the game's concept entirely. I want to get rid of the original anime aesthetic in order to give off a creepy horror vibe. This means that the game will no longer have its usual cutesy ecchi look, and will take on a more semi-realistic style. 2. Just a reminder, this is my own take, so not everything from the original plot will be utilized. And 3. Just in case for new viewers, I will summarize last video's basic changes. My Yansim takes place in a middle school setting. The specific location is a small town set in the countryside of Japan. It's the type of small town where most locals recognize each other at a glance. And my Yanchan isn't emotionless, but a wallflower that suffers from the traditional expectations that have been passed down through her family's generations. Meaning, I completely removed the Aishi curse and changed the conflict into Japan's harsh traditional values, which negatively affects Ayano's perception of life. Last video, I did briefly mention a few things about Senpai as well. For starters, Taro is no longer a socially awkward nerd. He is now a popular kid who is well known because of his friendly demeanor and his magnetic personality. In the OG Yansim, Ayano falls in love with Taro through the cliché love at first sight trope. And honestly, that's pretty lame. So in my rewrite, Taro is actually the one that reaches out to Ayano. This would only make sense since my Taro is outgoing and my Ayano is a reserved and shy girl. And through Taro's persistence, the two gradually become closer as friends, which leads into Ayano slowly falling for him. And because she is a naive middle schooler, along with how she was raised by her traditional parents, what should just be an innocent middle school crush turns into a violent and possessive obsession. Finally, with my recap aside, we can start getting into the design discussion. So last video, I mentioned that I didn't mind Ayano having a plain appearance, and I feel 50-50 about Taro. I don't really have strong opinions when it comes to him, but I do tend to agree with the majority that he is pretty bland. I even made a community post to gauge what the general public perception felt about his design, and a lot of people still agree with the same sentiment. Just to get some more ideas though, I decided to research what other artists have done for Taro. But to be honest, I think most people just project what they personally find attractive onto his character, or turn him into a walking headcanon. And don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with this, but it's not the route I want to pursue, especially since my senpai is supposed to be a minor, so it would be weird for me to project my personal preferences onto him. Instead, I thought about researching Japanese beauty standards for men, but unfortunately, most of the things I found wouldn't really fly with the strict dress codes for junior high students, plus, it didn't fit the look I wanted for him. But then I had an epiphany. I don't have to make Senpai attractive to Yansim's audience. I have to make him attractive for the characters in the story. And fortunately, I already have an idea of what I want. Previously, I stated that a lot of my inspiration for my rewrite came from Silent Hill F. And in Silent Hill, the MC Hinako actually has two love interests. By the way, small spoiler warning for Silent Hill F. These two characters are Shu and Kotoyuki. Shu is a perfect example of how I want Taro to act. He's described to be forward-thinking and sees no issue with befriending someone of the opposite sex. This is perfect since I envision Taro to be someone who is strong-willed, but also well-mannered and respectful towards everyone. But honestly, Shu's appearance doesn't exactly match my vision for Taro, so I'll be referencing a bit of Kotoyuki's appearance, and also include his calm and collected nature into Taro, giving him a little more charisma points. But even though I had an idea of what I wanted to do with Taro, I had another issue, which was his hair. Okay, there's nothing wrong with Taro's original hairstyle, but because of the angle that I'm taking with this character, I don't feel like his OG cut really matches the approach I want to take. So I opted for a few choices, and originally, I was planning on letting people vote to decide on a winner. Then I realized that I didn't really like the options most people like, so I changed my mind and decided to choose whatever hairstyle I wanted anyway. So yeah, sorry for being misleading. So you're probably wondering, which hairstyle did I pick? Well, let's get a quick drum roll. It was 6. I know. This is probably not the style that most people wanted, but please hear me out. A lot of the hairstyles I drew were mostly just to force myself to look through different variations, but I always see guys with the same cut in anime or in media in general. A buzz cut just feels so much more endearing on him, and it matches the lore I wrote for him. Besides, he's only in middle school, so his hairstyles can change as he gets older. Since most people voted for 4, maybe he can grow out his hair like that in the future. Or he can just run through all 6 styles throughout his life. Who knows? Also, I want Senpai's face to be handsome enough to the point where people can overlook his haircut. Other than his hair, I referenced some random Asian guys on Pinterest to make up his face for him. A lot of the models I chose had more mature facial features, which worked fine for me anyway since Taro is supposed to be an upperclassman. Like Yanchan, I still wanted to make it clear that he is a young teen, so it was a bit difficult to balance out his youthful features with the chiseled look I was going for. Also, a quick clarification, but my Taro is probably a year or 2 above Ayano, so the gap between them isn't that large. Just in case anyone was curious. But yeah, I wanted a slightly chiseled look, but still tried to make his face a little more soft just to make it evident that he's still a kid. And I also added a beauty mark on the outer corner of his eye. For those of you who may not be aware, in certain Asian cultures, a mole located on the outer corner of your eye symbolizes a problematic love life. Fitting, isn't it? As for his uniform, I did undo his collar button just to make it feel a little more personalized and realistic to how most guys would button their uniform. I also gave him a bracelet gifted to him by his mother to protect him from evil spirits. This is mostly meant for the irony of Ayano being the exact evil thing that the charm is trying to protect him from.
Hi. So, editing casserole here. I actually changed the bracelet idea since my idiot self just assumed that since most Asian cultures are similar, Japanese people would also have this evil bracelet concept. I mostly assumed this because back when my mom was Buddhist, I had one of these charms, and the whole rule was you're not supposed to take it off but let it fall off by itself. But apparently in Japanese culture they have this thing called an omamori, which is essentially very similar to the bracelet thing, but it's still a bit different. So just a quick culture lesson, I guess. Omamori are these little pouches that usually contain paper with written inscriptions or writing, and usually these are written by monks, I believe. Normally you carry these pouches around, and apparently these are very popular amongst Japanese people. And the important thing is that you're not supposed to open it or take out the paper from the pouch. So yeah, instead of a bracelet, I switched it out for an omamori and decided that Taro just probably hooks it onto his school bag. I was going to have him hook it around his belt loop on his pants, but I don't think that would really be allowed, plus I don't think it's commonly worn like that. And from what I've researched, Japan hardly allows self-expression for junior high students, but they are allowed to attach some charms onto their bag. If there are any Japanese netizens or viewers, feel free to correct me. Anyways, editing casserole out. Now, I don't think that Taro actually believes in the supernatural, but he doesn't fight with his parents since he respects them so much. Other than that, there wasn't much unique changes I made to him, and just like Ayano, I'm making his different uniform types for each season. Now we can finally get into his lore. So Taro is like any other guy in middle school. He's into sports, likes hanging out, but unlike the average guy, he is very nice and respectful. He just has a certain calming energy that draws people into him. Taro doesn't really judge people either and always believes in giving people chances. He is just very approachable, to put it simply. As for his home life, his mother is ill and his father works in the police department, which is another case of irony. His mother is a deeply religious woman who raised him to be gentle and caring. And as for his father, he taught him to stand up for what's right. This gives Taro a sense of justice, which is why he is extremely open-minded in the first place. And since this takes place in a small town, Taro has had the chance to befriend and get to know almost every one of his classmates, which adds more into his high reputation. Since Ayano is younger than him, he never gets to meet her until she comes to his middle school, though it's likely that he met her through an after-school club and found her sitting alone by herself. Ever since, he has not stopped bothering her into becoming his friend. When it comes to daily life, he usually likes to hang out with his friends, and although he doesn't like it, he has to study hard for his future to match up with his dad.
They kind of have a friendly rivalry thing going on. And if I haven't made it very evident by now, Taro has a good relationship with his parents. Other than that, he's extremely athletic, and his tall stature helps him get picked for teams. He's literally the ideal type of guy in a sea of quote-unquote average guys. A comment from my last video also pointed out how the setting being set in a rural area would help solidify Taro's popularity with several girls. Since there isn't a lot of greater competition, it helps boost his chances. All of these factors just makes Taro appear as the perfect guy. Okay, so we have his life, but how will he be implemented in-game? As I said before, the game starts after Taro introduces Ayano to Osana. As the two unwillingly become close, Ayano finds out that Osana plans to confess to Taro, which starts off the game. Another reminder that the style of this hypothetical game will be using low poly graphics. By the way, thank you to the comments from last video that informed me what the style was called. But when speaking to characters individually, it'll act like a typical visual novel, with character sprites being used besides some text. You can walk around freely in the school, but only in certain areas. The map will slowly expand after defeating each level, which means eliminating the rivals. Senpai will mostly be active during cutscenes, but you can still interact with him in-game and ask him for small favors. You can even get some information on your opponent from him. In a sense, he's kind of like a hint box for emergencies. However, I would recommend not relying on him too much throughout your playthrough. The more you rely on hints, is the more likely he is going to suspect that you are the murderer in the school. As I said before, Taro's dad is an officer. Because of Taro's sense of justice, he will snoop around the school and inform him about any information he can find, which makes things harder for the player. So it would be best to not leave any traces of your crimes. To be frank, mistakes cannot happen. Luckily, this only applies at a certain point in the game. For easier levels like Osana and Amai, Senpai is less likely to question Ayano. And as I stated in the last video, I kept Ayano's playing design to help her seem more innocent. However, at the end of every school day, Taro and Ayano walk home together from school. During this sequence, he makes casual conversation with Ayano, but after you complete a rival's level, he will start venting to Ayano. Depending on how you respond, it will determine your ending and raise Senpai's suspicions. And I know that some of you may be wondering, if Ayano and Taro are already friendly, how come she can't confess to him already? What's the point in killing people if she can just make the first move and take him? Great question. So instead of some dumb excuse that Ayano starts to act really weird to the point where she can't control herself around him, I decided that Ayano can't bring herself to personally confess to Senpai because of her own internal struggles. To be honest, if Ayano did confess to Senpai, he probably would accept, but she has to get over this complex in herself, which holds her back. As I stated before, Ayano suffers from generational trauma. The expectations of finding a husband and forming a perfect life scares her, but she only slowly builds her confidence after conquering each rival. And after each rival she conquers, Ayano will learn some sort of moral lesson during every level, especially during her talks with Senpai. To be clear, there are two different routes, genocide and pacifist. Depending on the route you choose, Ayano's reflection of life will vary. You, as the player, have the choice to choose whatever route you wish, but I'm making it very clear that the genocide route is obviously not the best ending, and will lead to the most corrupt ending in the game. It's also in your hands to push Ayano to make the right decision, so you kind of have this invisible parent relationship with her as the player. Either way, it's your choice. But that's all for this video. Honestly, we uncovered a lot in just Taro alone, and I'm excited to get into Osana next. My changes for Ayano and Senpai were honestly pretty tame, but I'll be giving Osana a complete 180, so brace yourself, Osana fans. Thanks for watching till the end, and stay tuned for the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it helps support a small YouTuber, plus it'll encourage me to work faster on Osana. And don't worry, it won't take as long as it did for Alex to release the official demo. Jokes aside, seriously, thanks for watching and bye-bye.
Girl with a stick. Can I make my boobies bigger? That's how I like them.